So there are many right ways to make a belt base, and essentially the thing that makes it right or wrong is how well it fits and also how durable it is. So durability is the easy part. Durability is all about the materials that you choose to use, and that's why I use this really thick interfacing to make my belt bases. And sometimes I use 2 layers of it. Sometimes I use 1. For this project, I decided to use 1 layer. And these are the 2 shapes that I eventually cut out. And I'm going to talk to you about how I made these shapes. The front one was pretty easy. Just because of the way our bodies are shaped, the front panels can very easily just be flat. And here's an example of my gold bedla, which is another costume. And you can see this one's flat as well. There's no darts to the front of a belt. But the back of a belt panel does typically need to curve because our glute muscles are large, especially if you're a dancer. So you're going to have this curve. If you just took a straight rectangle, you'd have this big gap at the top of the back of your belt. So in order for it to be narrower, higher up, and wider, lower, you do this curve, or you could do a rectangle and take darts out of the top. And that's how this one was made. This one was literally a rectangle. I started with a rectangle, I drew the bottom line, and I put darts in the top to take away the gap and put a couple darts in the bottom. But the big difference between this one and that one is that the other belt is only this wide. So I only have to worry about this side of the curve. I don't have to worry about the bottom side of the curve. This one would curve this way, and this one was, they're 2 different sides of this little valley in here. So that's what mine would look like. And you can see these marker lines on the sides. That's where the side seams of my jeans would line up. So I was wearing pants of some sort. I don't remember which pants I was wearing, but any pants will do. And you just pin the interfacing to yourself, and a friend or you yourself can use a magic marker to draw where you think the line should be. And you can see that I drew a couple. I took my time and experimented, pinned this to my own pants, and then when I was happy with it, I cut it out bigger than it needed to be. And then I also marked where the center line was, and I folded that in half and then trimmed it to make it as symmetrical as possible. Another consideration is that where the front and the back meet, you want them to be the same width. You want it to be a nice clean blend. So once I cut out my back and front belt panels, and I was happy with the shape of them, I started to cover them. Now, this is the fabric, the Assuit fabric I have. This is what will be my front panel, and you can see here's the side of the bra and another side of the bra, and here is where I cut out the material used on the cups. And then here is what will be the back panel, and up at the top there you can probably see that I trimmed off what would have been the pretty border that was on the other far side, and I used that for the back of the belt, which meant that for the front of the belt, I had what was left over on this far side. So I had like a bra cup and a bra cup. So there was a little bit left over here, and there was also a little bit left over on that panel. So it wasn't quite enough. So I have part here, and then this is from the back panel, this is from the front panel, back panel. And you do the best that you can because this was the look I wanted to have, and those were the only parts on the fabric that had those embellishments in them, and so that's what you do. And I didn't bother covering. This has the crinkle satin underneath, but it doesn't have a suit on top because I made another round emblem, covered it in the crinkle satin, put a thingy on it, and that is going to go right here. So no one will ever see that part, so it doesn't need to be covered in the most expensive fabric. And my concept is to turn this from here to about there. I think that's how long I need it to be. I'm going to cut that, and then I'm going to line it with more of the crinkle satin. So it'll be 2 panels. And what you do, I don't think a suit actually has a good side or a bad side. I think that both sides of the fabric are equal in their level of embellishment. But essentially, with another type of fabric, you would put it good side in, and then you'd put your lining material good side in, and then you'd sew them along the edges. You'd sew, a straight stitch along your edges, and you turn it right side out, and you have your beautiful lined panels. And then once they're right side out, you just pin them to the bottom of the belt where they need to be based on your own height, do a straight stitch, and you're done. You can just line the back, and you're golden. Of course, we're ignoring the fact that I'm also going to embellish this, but that's neither here nor there. Now, the thing about my crinkle satin is that I actually want the shinier, sparklier, satiny bit to be the side that shines through. So when I pin this together, I'm actually going to put the matte side of the satin against whatever I consider the good side of the Assuit. And then I'll sew all along my rectangle, turn it right side out, and then you'll see the pretty sparkliness of the crinkle satin sort of reflecting from behind the Assuit. And of course, as I spoke before, I'm going to have a box pleat because you can probably tell that the belt's panels are not as wide as the Assuit. I guess the back one is almost as wide, but the front one is more narrow. So in order to bridge that gap, there will be a box pleat right in the center. So that's the idea. And from now here going forward, I haven't decided. I thought about, do I embellish first and then take care of the skirt? Or do I want to take care of the skirt and then embellish? And the question really is, do I ever intend to change the length of the skirt? If I do, then it's probably for the best for me to embellish first and then attach the skirt so that the skirt isn't damaged by the stitches of embellishment. If I never intend to change the length of the skirt, and of course I'd only have the width of the belt to play with as far as changing the length goes, as long as making it longer goes. Making it shorter, not a problem. But if I never intend to change the length of the skirt, then I may as well just put the skirt on the belts, attach them, and then embellish and not care, because I would never need to remove and replace the skirt. So I'm going to think about it, and most likely I will do whatever seems like more fun. And because I sometimes get very excited about the embellishment parts. But just for clarification, that's how the panels are going to lay against each other. There's going to be an overlap, because this is where the side is, and then, it's probably a little less overlapped, but about that much. Then you saw that marker line on the back, that was where the side seam was, and what that's going to do is, this back panel is going to be attached all the way to the edge of the back side of the belt, and this panel is going to be attached all the way to the edge, which means that at the very top, they're going to overlap a little bit. They're not going to be sewn to each other. It's going to be a slit on either side, but having them overlap will give me a little more modesty, meaning that the nakedness part will be a little further down. And I'm even considering whether or not I may want to wear pants with this, or, little booty shorts or something, because you never want people to be distracted from your beautiful dancing by wondering, oh my God, is she going to flash me? So, design considerations. All right, stay tuned for more. I'm sure the next time you see it, I will have an embellished belt.